Hey everyone, excited to be back for this week's edition of Frequently Asked Questions for Commercial Real Estate. In today's video, what I want to do is talk about a terminology that's commonly used in commercial real estate leasing, and that is what exactly is a base year. So in this video, we're going to explain what a base year is and then how it's typically incorporated within a lease agreement. Now, before we dive in this video, I would greatly appreciate it if you could like and subscribe to this channel. It really does help with the YouTube algorithm and ensures more and more people can hear this message and learn about the many facets of commercial real estate. So now you've done that, go ahead and like and subscribe below. Let's go ahead and dive in this episode. All right, so the question itself is, what exactly is a base year? Well, a base year is typically defined in a commercial real estate lease agreement, and it's essentially the period defined that sets the precedent for what future increases in operating expenses are going to be and who essentially is going to be responsible for paying those increases. And so, typically the base years are defined most often in full service gross leases where the landlord is paying all operating expenses, and oftentimes also modified gross leases where the responsibilities for operating expenses are shared between the landlord and the tenant. So let's take an example just so you can kind of understand how base years impact this equation. So let's imagine that you are looking for to lease a commercial space, and you are looking at a property that's going to be a full service gross lease. Your advertised rent for the full service gross lease is $25 per square foot. The operating expenses for the previous year and really what they're projecting the current year to be is $8 a square foot. So it's essentially the landlord, when they pay their taxes, insurance, general maintenance, other CAM expense, if it's a multi-tenant center, that all equates to about $8 a square foot. Well, since it's a full service gross lease, in the first year, your rent is going to be $25 a square foot. You pay your monthly rate at that rate extrapolated over a year, and you're in good shape. Now, as far as the base year is concerned, typically what landlords are going to do is say, okay, well, our expenses this year are $8 a square foot, and we're going to define that in year one of this lease agreement. Any increases to that amount over a period of time, the delta is going to be paid by the tenant. So let's say the following year, the operating expense rate goes from $8 a square foot to $9 a square foot. Maybe the taxes went up, or the cost of maintaining the property increased as well. Well, the landlord would be responsible for paying the $8 a square foot, but then the remaining tenant base is going to pay that $1 square foot delta. And again, it's all going to be attributed on a pro rata basis. So let's say you operate you have 10% of the space available that's for the center, then you're only going to pay, 10% of that $1 square foot delta. So that's kind of how it's defined, at least in lease agreements. The reason why it's beneficial from the landlord's perspective is because it controls cost as far as, massively increasing costs. There's a lot of things in this market that you can't really control. You're kind of seeing insurance pricing going through the roof. You're seeing a lot of materials for construction going through the roof as well. So, if you're on a full service gross lease as a landlord, or you have tenants on a full service gross lease, you would be absorbing a significant amount of those increases yourself. And if your rent is not increasing at a commensurate rate, then you could find yourself in a bad spot as far as the value of your commercial building is concerned. And so, kind of to mitigate some of that risk, you would define a base year and say, look, from today forward, any increases to that operating expense amount, is going to be absorbed by the tenant base. So from a landlord's perspective, it is a benefit. In the case of a tenant, obviously there's some risk there, because if you go into a lease agreement where this is defined, then obviously you would absorb all the increases. And if the increases are substantial, because let's say, insurance costs, you're in Florida and the insurance cost went up by 30+%. In some cases, it's gone up over 100%. That could be a big deal for tenants, and it could be a big risk for them. So from a tenant's perspective, although many landlords are going to push for the base year, you can have a base year. And I think that's something that, was worth considering, but maybe try to find a way to limit the downside risk. So maybe define that they can't increase by, more than 5% a year, just to kind of mitigate the downside risk of something significant happening where, now you're incurring a significant increase in operating expense costs that, you yourself as a tenant could not control. So you know, that's kind of the definition of a base year. That's the use case as far as that hopefully you guys gain some value from. If you guys like this channel, please like and subscribe. It makes a huge impact in our ability to reach a broader audience. If you guys are looking to lease commercial property, or you're an owner of a commercial property that you'd like to have leased, again, I am a commercial real estate agent here in Louisville, Kentucky. If you own property in the area, I'd be happy to talk to you to learn more about what you're looking for or looking to do. Feel free to give me a call at 502-536-7315, or you can reach me via email at Raphael@grisantegroup.com. Thanks again so much for tuning in, and we'll see you all next time.